Okay, welcome back to our second half of our NCAA preview. Mark Wise, Larry Vettel, Kevin Brockway, Pat Dooley. We're going to preview the tournament, and Kevin and I, of course, heading to Austin. So is Mark, I believe, right?
Yes. I have to stop and think what day it is.
or where you're going. Nashville was a long haul. It was certainly a long week, and but I'm of opinion that the tournament should be there every year. I mean, Atlanta is too big. New Orleans, nobody cares in New Orleans about that SEC tournament. And then, they're going to go to Kansas City. And I don't.
Well, plus
it doesn't feel like an SEC tournament.
Plus, if you put 11,000 people in the dome, it looks like an ant show.
Right.
So,
yeah. And it was a loud crowd Sunday.
Yeah, it was good. I thought Ole Miss had a good contingent of Hendersonvilles.
Yeah, I was surprised how many there. Even Hugh Freeze was there. But I was surprised how loud that crowd was and how many they had. It's more than twice as long to Kansas City, so I don't think you'll see that kind of crowd there. Will be interesting to watch some of the NIT games. Kentucky at Robert Morris. I mean, if you're a Kentucky fan right now, is this the low point of your life?
No.
With Louisville and Rock?
NIT road game?
NIT road game with Louisville.
Big Blue's got an NIT road game.
Do Kentucky fans think it's their low point? Well, sure.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But no, if they think this is low, no, they haven't lived through low.
I know. It's pretty bad.
The Billy Gillespie era was pretty bad. People don't, that second year they went to the NIT also. So.
But they didn't go on the road in the first round.
But that's only a special situation.
I know, but it's...
Why couldn't they play that game in Memorial Gym?
It's my understanding that the staff was going to be spread too thin.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's get to our other questions. First of all, everybody's got to have an upset pick. You got to have an upset. If anybody goes chalk in the bracket, what's the point of doing it? You might win some money, but at the same time, everybody's going to have an upset pick. Kevin, what's your big upset for the NCAA tournament?
I've got a 3-14, and it's not the Gators, but it is Marquette falling to Davidson. I like Bob McKillop, and I think that's a good matchup. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a little soured on Marquette and how poorly they played at the O'Connell Center, but that's kind of an inconsistent team, and that's a team that I thought was maybe a little overseeded in the tournament.
Yeah, it might have been. I've not been overly impressed with Marquette this year.
Co-champions in the Big East.
Yeah. I know. I think there was 9 teams that were co-champions.
It was pretty tight at the top. I like that one. Davidson's a really well-coached basketball team. They do everything fundamentally well, and they won't be wowed by the circumstances. I like California as a 12, taking out number 5 UNLV. It's a home game for Cal. It's less than 100 miles from Berkeley where they're playing. UNLV's got a longer trip. I think they played better early than they've played late. So I like Cal to advance in the first round.
I watched their game against New Mexico. It's the first time I've seen UNLV all year, really. And was not overly impressed. But New Mexico obviously is a very good team.
The one thing about UNLV, though, Anthony Bennett is he's really a tough physical player.
He's a monster.
And that might be one problem for Cal encountering in that game.
Well, I like the Cal pick. I don't like the Davidson pick. I think Marquette will be too physical for Davidson. I think the Butler is going to get Butler. I think Bucknell.
6, right?
I think, Bucknell is going to pull the upset there. This is not the most talented Butler team by any stretch. They missed the tournament last year. They're in this year because of some miraculous last-second shots. Rodney Clark has certainly changed their ability to shoot the 3, but Bucknell with the big fella, I kind of like them. I think that I'd look for that one.
I got Creighton going out, and it's a 10-7. It barely sneaks in there.
Does that qualify?
Barely.
They can't go out there. Half the at-large teams, that's their only quality win.
I know.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Like 4 teams will have to leave if Creighton goes out.
This is why I don't like it. So I've got them losing. But it's going to be fun. I mean, and the funny thing is, I was talking to somebody on the radio about this today. We all love March Madness, right? We all adore it. It's great. Oh my God, you see the upsets last night. Then it happens to Florida, and you're like, oh no, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this team? I mean, things are going to happen. Crazy things are going to happen in the tournament. We all know that. Let's move on to the next topic, and that is take one conference and give the field. In other words, what one conference, if you had to take just one, I'm assuming it's not going to be the SEC, but if you had to take one conference, Larry, and give the field to somebody in a bet, who would you take? Which
Sun Belt. I got to go with Western. My wife said I have to go with Western Kentucky. She's in love. So we'll go some. They got Midland. They got a couple
teams. You got 2 shots.
I think you'll be hard pressed to find someone who won't say Big Ten. It's just a really good league. I look at every bracket and I'm hard pressed. I go through them. I don't take it that seriously. And the first one I went through, I had an all Big Ten Final Four. I don't think that's going to happen, but I just think top to bottom, clearly the best league, the best teams. I think they'll have half the Final Four.
Not according to Charles Barkley, Mark. I remember Charles Barkley said the Mountain West is better than the Big Ten.
Well, Charles Barkley's wrong.
You just watch a lot of
It's
college
not
basketball.
even close. I think the better question is, do you want Louisville or the Big Ten or the field?
Right.
That would be a great question. I'm with Larry. I'm going to take the Big Ten. I don't even think it's close. I think there will be multiple teams from the Big Ten in the Final Four. I don't think there's any question about it.
What do you think, Kevin?
I agree. Big Ten, just top to bottom, is just the toughest conference right now in college basketball. And I just think that, we saw, in 1986, 3 Big East teams make it. I mean, there's... You look at Ohio State, you look at Michigan, you look at Indiana. I mean, that could happen.
I don't agree with Charles Barkley. I do think that the Big Ten issue may be scoring in these big games. And I'm going to take the ACC. Because, first of all, I like Miami a lot. I mean, I think the ACC tournament was an aberration for Duke. And I like North Carolina a lot, as we talked earlier. I
But
see that happening.
Duke got the worst
They did get a bad
draw of all. Because
And they're one shooting night, a bad shooting night away from the
And I know the committee has gone away from the S-curve, but they need to revisit that. Because they list every seeded team 1 through 68,
Right.
and Duke is 6th. Well, how can you put the second number 2 seed in the overall number 1 bracket? That made no sense. So I agree with you. In a lot of other regions, maybe in any other region, might pick Duke, but they can't beat Louisville.
They win the West.
I think
Yeah.
I think depth-wise on the ACC, it's a very top-heavy conference, and I really think that
I do, but
if
I like the top.
The top is good, but I mean, even if you take a look at the SEC compared to the ACC, I think top to bottom, the SEC might have been a better conference than the ACC.
Yeah, well, and again, FSU surprisingly bad season. That was part of it. I mean, I watched Georgia Tech play all year, and I'm like, they're terrible. Then they beat Miami, so you're like, anyway, I'm taking the ACC. All right, it's time now for the big pick, and of course that is, who do you have in the championship game, and who do you have winning it all? We'll start all the way to the end with Mark Wise. Mark, who do you like in the title game?
Well, it's going to be hard to pick against Louisville. So then the other side, I do think there's going to be multiple Big Ten teams. I really like Michigan. I've liked them all year. I think a trendy pick is VCU. I think Florida's region with VCU, Kansas, Michigan is the most unpredictable region. So I think you could play that region 4 different times and have 4 different winners. But I think Michigan will handle VCU. So don't be surprised if Michigan comes out of there. I really like Trey Burke. I like Indiana. I think it's no question it's an Indiana-Miami regional final there. And I love hot teams. Going into a tournament, I think Ohio State has a shot at Atlanta. So, I'll go with the chalk on this one because you've asked me the finals. And usually it's the 1 seeds are usually there. So I'll go upper left and bottom right. I'll go Louisville and Indiana.
Yeah, that's right. That's where they are. Okay. One thing about Louisville that it's the only thing that scares me about that is that a team sometimes comes out of that conference tournament and everybody's saying how great they're playing, and then there's this little break, and you come back and you're not the same team you were when you left. And I don't know that Louisville. Look, last year Kentucky was the overwhelming favorite. I don't know that there is an overwhelming favorite, but everybody's picking Louisville.
Yeah,
it seems like
it's Louisville, Indiana is the most common everywhere you look, and if you look at me, that's
Are you
what you're going to get.
Are you calling me common?
Yes,
You're gonna
you're
be
commoner. I'm just as well with one thing. I like Michigan too. I've got Michigan in the Final Four. I think I love. Burke is a tremendous player. Tim Hardaway Jr. is really fun to watch and very hard to match up with. So I've got Michigan, and my dark horse crazy because I got to have one. Pittsburgh.
I had them 2 years ago, and they got 1-0.
You were
still
ahead of your
Yeah,
time.
you're still angry.
Now was the time.
Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that. How about you, Kevin? Who do you have in the final?
No love for Gonzaga, huh? And Kelly Olynyk and the big guy. And I know they play in a bad conference, but I think they can get through the West. I think Louisville can. as well. I kind of like you guys. I love Michigan. They're a little limited inside, but I love the backcourt combination of Burke and Hardaway. And in the East, I like the Miami Hurricanes. But I'm going to say Michigan, Louisville in the finals, and I'm going to go with Michigan. Hail to the victors. They're going to win.
How about that?
Well, you of course you like Miami. You're a Miami alum. I mean, but there's no question about that. I will tell you that my final game is Louisville-Miami. And the reason for that is the way they're playing. You talk about liking hot teams. The Miami gut check to me was the SEC or the ACC tournament when North Carolina was knocking down everything, and they came back and won that game. It showed me they're tournament tough.
It's good to be older than the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes.
That really does help.
The one reservation I'm sure we all have with Miami, they haven't been there.
Right.
They
The
don't know
coach
what it's
has.
like. The coach has, yes.
You
But
got
the
to
players
remember.
haven't.
You also have to remember this if you're concerned about Louisville. They're playing in Lexington and then Indianapolis. They are going to have huge home court advantage all the way to Atlanta.
Some of the most obnoxious fans in America, I might add, after dealing with them in Phoenix last year.
Surely you're not calling out fans.
Yes.
You know that Billy is a believer of sons of elite athletes, and Shane Larkin, obviously son of Hall of Famer Barry Larkin, really makes Miami go. You know, you talk a lot about the older guys inside, but to me, he's been terrific and dynamic at the point for the Hurricanes, and I think he's a guy that can carry them to the Final Four all the way to the championship.
I really like that team. I had them earlier in the year
Yeah.
when Durant Scott came back. They have a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and they're like a baseball team that wins the World Series. They're 6, 7, and 8 hitters. Instead of hitting 230 like they have all year, they hit 300 that year. Well, Julian Gamble, Brown off the bench shooting the ball, Trey McKinney-Jones, they've all had great years to complement Larkin and that 26-year-old starting lineup that they have.
Yeah, it's funny because they kind of came out of nowhere, you know, and obviously they've been there for a long time. But I don't think anybody's sitting there going, you know, before the season, I like Miami this year.
And of course, the former Gator Kenny Couchie did knocking down threes.
They got him. I guess they got him
Eric
off the
Murphy.
Stairmaster long enough to. Because when he was in Florida, seriously, they used to put him on the Stairmaster because he was in such bad shape instead of practice.
Yeah, but he was also Kenny Cagey.
Yes, that's right.
And he went to Miami and became
Joe
Kenny
Thiessen.
Cagey.
Joe Thiessen. Tony Dorsett. All right, that's going to do it for our show. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Special thanks to Mark Wise and Larry Vettel, of course, for coming in and doing the show. Kevin had to be here, so he had no choice. But thanks again to you guys for coming, and we enjoy it every year. It's time for March Madness. Till next time, Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.